What's up, everybody? I'm Richard.
And I'm Shawn.
And we are speaking the language of romance.
Oh, yeah. Richard, we have so much love between the two of us that we just can't be contained to a single episode.
I'm so excited.
So, last episode, we were going to do like just a single episode of Ode to the Wives, and as we went through it, we realized that
you got me to get all gushy.
Yeah, and so we decided, like, listen, we can't just have this, like, we can't time box this. We got to make sure it goes longer. It needs to go as much as that we can. So we talked about you and your beautiful wife for a little bit, and now, Richard, it's time for us to talk about my love for you.
I knew it. Okay. Count the ways. 1,000, 2 1,000. So Shawn, this is the part. This is now where the tide has turned, and we now get to talk about you and your lovely lady. Now, okay. So first off, I want to set the stage. I want to talk about before you meet the woman who's going to be your wife. Let's talk about where you are. Let's talk about where you are, not just physically, but let's talk about where you are in terms of headspace and in terms of how you're feeling about women at this point. Now, let's bear in mind, okay? So when I met my wife, this was years before. I didn't even know you. Shawn was not on my radar, didn't even know he existed. Now, in this case, I am here. I'm here. I've been here. So I get to see the entire thing unfold, and I get to know all the history and context that comes before it. So Shawn, why don't you? I want you to set the stage, not only of what's going on in your life, but what's going on inside your head prior to the point you're at.
So you, like you said, you've kind of got to see the spectrum of my love life. So I think one of my serious girlfriends from high school, we weren't great friends at that point, but her and I were dating when we were working at the restaurant, and just normal high school breakup.
Sure.
But you got to see a pretty tough breakup with my next relationship, I guess. So I made.
Was that your next one? Was this your?
That was my very next one.
This is your very next one.
So it was a college girlfriend at the point. Did the thing where you like, finish college, so now I gotta get married. So I got married, moved here. This is pre Tiffany, and realized at the point that when I moved up here that just a realization I had is like, oh my God, I'm gonna be unhappy for the rest of my life. Serious thought went through my head. I think I talked to you about that. Not at that point, because that's something you don't say to somebody.
No, it's not.
But at some point,
I'm pretty sure I'm fucking miserable. Yeah.
Well, it might get better. Have you talked to her? I have. How'd it go? Not good.
Nope. What's the opposite of good? Bad? Yeah, that one.
Yeah. Do you have any extra toasters laying around with really long cords? I was pretty miserable, Richard. So I lucked out, and I say lucked out, in my previous relationship because everything kind of broke off at a point where it's like, listen, this isn't going to work. You go your way, I'll go my way. And besides spending way too much money to get out of it, I was at least in a better place. Emotionally, maybe?
Yes, I would say that. You were definitely in a...
The potential emotionally was in a better place.
Yeah. There was now like you were given something you didn't have, and that was kind of like almost like a hopefulness. You did have like kind of a weight off your shoulders, albeit like, obviously like after something like that, like it's a huge, kind of a trauma. And
yeah. Well, nobody wants to be 23 and divorced, right? Like that's
right.
That feels like you're going to be marked with a letter. Like you're going to walk in anywhere with a big D on your chest that says, hey, guess what? I was married and I failed at it.
Yeah. Yeah. And I know that was like a big thing for you. Also the fact that like, you and you said this, like, you would say to me, well, I'm 23 and I'm divorced. So maybe I just, suck at relationships. And I'm like, that's not, no, you just, It's just that this relationship sucked for both of you.
Yeah. I mean, it was a long distance relationship when we were dating. And it was kind of like we both graduated college, so I guess we get married now. So it was definitely
which I found really surprising that stigma still kind of holds, that like you're with somebody in college and then you get done. It's like, oh, well, I guess we get married. Like I thought that thing kind of died out around the time.
Might be more now. That might have been just me because I mean, you know me, like I've always been a romantic, like your relationship where you talked about was like high school sweethearts. Like that's what I always wanted. It was like, because that's what my parents are. I was like, you find that person in high school, you get married, you live 47 years. Actually, probably more. If you're 18 or whatever, 20, like you live 60 years together and die like on the Titanic as it's going down, holding each other tight. Like that's the dream, right?
That's, I guess, somebody's.
But at this point, it's like, so, we get here, we split off, and I was in a town that was a little ways away from where I lived, completely alone. Like I had some friends from work or whatnot, but nothing like I didn't have any buddies. I didn't have any prospects of like girls to hang out with.
No.
I felt pretty alone.
Yeah, because you were pretty alone. You were all by yourself, Shawn.
That's true.
You were alone, and you were probably destined to be that way forever and ever.
Yeah.
A lonely, sad, pathetic life. Just milling around, going, what do I do with myself? I'll never know the touch of a woman ever again.
But I know there was conversations where you'd call me, like, man, I feel like I need to call you every week, and probably just be like, hey, I just want to make sure you're not going to off yourself.
No. Your parents and I did not have any sort of agreement.
But I mean, so whenever I first started dating like girls, like when I was 16, I was never single for longer than maybe 2.5, 3 months. And at this point, after I got divorced, I was single for 14 or 15 months, like a really long time.
Yeah.
And it's funny because like I went on a couple dates here or there, but nothing too serious. And finally, a guy I knew was like, hey, he needed a place to stay. He's going to move in. I was like, sweet. Going to get a roommate. He's kind of, he's just getting out of college. Like he goes out. He's kind of like a fun dude. Like we're going to go out. We're going to bro it. Like we're going to go downtown.
Right. Now, wait.
Every weekend.
Explain to me at this point, because I'm actually unfamiliar with this, and you can help me. Explain to me dating in your adult life. Now, like, I obviously I dated, but like I'm saying like dated with the option that there is a bar around. How does that go?
So I only had maybe 3 decent dates. Like one girl I started hanging out with was a girl I dated in high school.
Okay.
It was my very first girlfriend, actually, which was a horrible mistake, I think, for both of us. It was kind of like that, like, oh, well, maybe, we made a mistake when we were 15. It's like, no, we broke up for a reason.
Yeah.
There was a girl I played softball with. We just kind of like started hanging out. We went to a concert together. And it just was basically, we just kind of went to the concert, had a few drinks, went to another little bar. Then like I went back to her house. She invited me back up to her apartment, which when I think back on it, like I just like literally stood on her rug, like in the entryway. Because again, I have this rule. I don't kiss on the first date. I've just never done that. Mainly because like I don't want to feel like I'm forcing myself on somebody.
Oh my
no, it's this whole thing. Like I don't want to feel like the girl is like feels obligated to kiss me. Like on the second date,
don't.
if like she kisses. I know. Well,
they don't.
I mean, I know some girls are like, well, I just kiss them and then be like, oh, well, guess look at the time. Like I've heard girls that do that. Like not like, but so that was only like a 1 date thing. And there's another girl that I hung out with for a little bit. Like I met her at a friend's house and we kind of hung out, and it was just one of those situations that was just like, actually at that point, like if I was younger, I probably been like, well, I guess we could date. But knowing that I was like, we're not compatible. This like, if we just date, it's just a date. So I kind of was like, let's just kind of go our separate ways.
Okay. So before you go on, I just want to say, I know what you people are thinking. Richard, why are you making him relive all this trauma in his life? And I'll tell you why. It's because all this is on the road to something. We're on a path, And so we need to
is.
we need to establish the path, and we need to give you a clear picture of the context going into the start of this situation, because Shawn's in headspace. There's things going on. There's a background.
Yeah. Well, I'm like if you think of me, I think like I'm a hopeless romantic. I feel like any rom-com is something that I go to thinking like, oh my God, if only I could be in those shoes.
Yeah, and write her letters after I died.
Yeah, except that part, because then she'd bang some dude in Scotland.
That's not how it happened. God damn it.
But like, I've never been the dude that's like, I'm gonna go out and like I'm gonna flirt with chicks, and like, hey, if some chick's like, hey, you want to come back to my room for a one night stand? Totally gonna go back and do a one night stand. And Richard, after my new friend moved in, I was like, dude, that's what I'm going to do. We're going to go out. We're going to party. We're going to have fun.
Yeah.
I'm 24 years old at this point, 23.
Yeah.
Like, it's time
You're
for
in
me
your
to
prime.
live my life.
You have hit your...
Again, like,
you are an apex predator male.
When I was working out at that point, too, and I was in great shape. And at that point, too, I was kind of like we've talked about my college life, and I've never experienced like the college like experience, right?
No,
like, going out.
No,
being crazy.
You did terrible at that.
I did.
I mean, I didn't experience it at all, but I'm saying you had the chance and failed,
and I didn't
miserably.
But this point, it's like okay, I'm 23. You know, there's colleges around here, right? Like I'm still in that college age.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go and do this college thing, right? So not more than like 2 weeks after I decided like this, and I had this thought in my head. I'm like, this is what I'm going to do. I'm just going to not worry about relationships, not worry about finding a girlfriend. I'm just going to go out, have fun, whatever happens, happens.
Yeah. And then you couldn't do it.
After this, yeah, I couldn't do it. No, not more than 2 weeks after this.
That's my no-no place.
Why are you grinding on me? This is the thong song. It's a classic. Why do you call your mom every time I come over? So I was
breaking the rules.
So I was definitely in this spot where I was just kind of like, I'm over this whole like trying to find a girlfriend thing. Because again, it's been like 14 months at this point. And so I went to a party. It was like a holiday party kind of thing. And it was a fun, good time, whatever. But then everybody's like, hey, we're going to go to this bar afterwards. I'm like, fucking sweet. This is where it starts.
Yeah.
And I go to the bar.
I get to be a man.
Yeah. Like any ladies want this. It's up
Hang
for
on.
sale.
We got to stop by Walgreens. I got to get my Axe body spray.
Yeah, I got to get my Magnum.
Crisscross applesauce.
So we go to a bar afterwards, Richard, and my roommate at this time was kind of he was definitely a player, not really a player, but he was a guy who had no fears of like trying to show he had game. Just one of those guys, like he'd go up to anybody, talk to him, and could converse, and like kind of feel like you kind of like looking from a distance, be like, oh, that dude's got game, right? Like he's a.
See, I'm picturing a dude with like a white hat, like a white ball cap, and it's like kind of tilted to the side a little bit, and a big puffy coat. Is that accurate?
It's one of those situations where like, you know, because in this situation he's talking to a girl and she's laughing at his jokes, but you know, as me being a little drunk and kind of distant, I'm looking at him, and I look at this girl and I'm like, oh my God, like that girl is like way out of my league. And I had this thought, Richard, I'm like, that girl is like complete, like there's no way I could ever get a girl that beautiful. Like she's just beautiful. She's like, she seems funny. Like she's talking to my roommate. Like that's a girl my roommate would deserve, right? Because like he's cool, she's cool, you know, and I'm just this loser.
What made her so cool?
I mean, she was just like, she was dressed really well. She was beautiful. Her laugh was very contagious. It's just, I think it was just kind of like more of like.
Was she sick?
Like, I don't know. Maybe she was.
Her laugh was contagious. Oh,
it was just that thought that when I saw her, I'm like, and I don't know if you've ever had that thought or not, but it's just like, oh my God, like. This girl is completely out of my league. Like, there's no way I could, like, if I went to talk to her, she'd be like, go away. Like, that's the thought I had going through my head, Richard.
Okay, do you have that thought with, like, most women or just this? Like, I'm just, is that your baseline? Or are you saying this one in particular?
This one in particular, because, spoiler alerts, Richard, that woman becomes my wife. So as I'm gazing across a couple tables at a bar and seeing this beautiful, beautiful woman talking with my roommate, I think to myself, like, that girl is out of my league.
Yeah.
And the night goes on like that. She's with a different group and they end up going somewhere else. And me and my roommate come back. And a couple of days later, like he's shit.
Did you ask the roommate about the girl? Like, hey, where do you know her from?
No, I knew she like kind of worked with us or was like from the same group of friends that we're kind of hanging out with. So we kind of rolled in the same circle. But like a couple of days later, he was talking to another friend of ours about her and like was kind of asking about her. And the girl that was talking was like, yeah, I guess she kind of likes jerks and things like that. And apparently he kind of had a thing for her, but
she likes jerks.
Yeah, that's what her friend was saying.
Oh, so she was the kind of girl that like dates like the dudes that you didn't like. The dudes that are like, hey, what's up, nerd? And you're like, nothing, stop it. And then she's like, oh my God, you're so fucking cool.
And that could have been her friend saying like, hey, she's just like hanging out with a jerk right now. Like she isn't necessarily into jerks. That's just kind of what she had.
Okay.
And this was coming from my roommate. Again, my roommate was kind of like that. Like he had just lost a bunch of weight and gotten in shape and like kind of was like really full of himself. He's a good guy. But like, at that point.
So what you're saying is that deep down, what actually happened is that he kind of liked her and she kind of probably rejected him, and then he was like, oh well, she's only into assholes. Why don't you talk to her, asshole?
So again, she was out of my league. That was the thought going through my head. And there was a happy hour we all got together, maybe 3 weeks later.
Oh,
and so we show up and I'm kind of like, I just don't feel like going. I'm in a mood, right? Because my roommate, again, was just kind of like, I don't think he controlled the room, but I felt like he did. And I don't know if there's a little bit of jealousy there. And of course, at that point, it could have been like he was obnoxious, but I wasn't seeing with that.
So looking back now, how was it? So I guess what I'm saying is like I'm saying like at the time you're like, oh, he's got charisma, he's got control of the room. That chick only dates assholes. Like, but I'm saying with the benefit of hindsight, this is now years down the road. How would you read the situation now?
I think me now just kind of feels like he was trying to portray that he was like an alpha type guy, but he wasn't. He was just kind of a dude just like me. And I think, again, it just, like, I felt like at that point in my life, I didn't have much, like, self-esteem. So it wouldn't take anything for me to be like, yeah, I'm just here. But in comes the
Somebody
same
could have
girl.
been like, you should kill yourself. And you're like, I should.
Yeah. Where's the toaster?
You run out with your arms waving.
But in comes the same girl from the bar a couple weeks later that I thought was out of my league, and she had just got done working out, which I thought she still looked just amazing and beautiful even at that point. Like she was kind of sweaty, but like had workout gear on.
Oh my God! See, that sounds like I would think as a dude, you like that would be even like more intense.
And it was a great set because there's like most of the people were at the other end of the table. We're like right at the end, so she sat across from me. And my roommate was like down at the end, like trying to control that group of people, like trying to be the life of the party.
Yeah.
And so me and this girl start talking, and I find out that her name's Tiffany, and we chit chat back and forth. And
what was the conversation about mainly? How did you break the ice on that one? Because I'm assuming you were the first one to speak. Because I feel like
I don't remember specifically.
I guess I feel like in that situation, I feel like in a situation where it's a guy and a girl, I feel like it's on the guy to like say something to the girl, and not really so much the other way around.
Yeah,
I'm not saying that women that it's always a case of men are the pursuers and women are the pursued. I guess I'm just saying that in most situations, in my experience, I've always felt that that women are in a better position to wait to be approached rather than to do the approaching. And I'm not. Don't get me wrong. It's not. I don't feel like it's like a gender role thing. Everybody's capable of talking to anyone they want. It's just from what I've seen in my experience. So I'm assuming my point is I'm assuming you're the one that's spoke first. So what did you do to kind of break the ice? Did you crack a joke? Was it a
No,
bad joke?
I don't think I joked too much. I think there's a couple jokes in there, but I think
Like
I
pulled
looked
up your
out
napkin and be like, "Does this smell like chloroform to you?" Hi, nice to meet you, I'm Shawn.
Oh wow, she's had too much to drink. I got to take her home. No, she. I think we lucked out because we're both pretty shy, not very talkative people, but we were both at the very end of the table. And so, like, you know, if you ever end up like at the end or like right in the middle of two conversations, you're kind of on the outside of it.
Okay.
And that's kind of where we were here. So we're both on the very end of the table, and the conversation's happening in front of us. And it was like very, very small talk, like, "Oh, hey, I'm Shawn." It's like, "Oh, I'm Tiffany."
Yeah.
Silence for a little bit. We talked about a local music hall here because I was going to a bunch of concerts there quite a bit. We're chit-chatting about that. So conversation about music. I think I asked her about movies, and she's like, "Oh, I don't watch movies." And it was kind of silent for like 5 minutes.
Oh, I don't watch movies. And then you're like, that's like half of my life. So there's that.
But I know I always joke about it because I would ask her a question, she kind of respond, but then like not follow up with it. And I always joke with her about that because I thought she was just uninterested. I thought she was annoyed by me.
Yeah.
Because that's always my go-to.
That's mine. That's mine too. So you didn't play any cards too early. Like you didn't like let it slip. Be like, "Hey, you want to listen to my podcast?"
Yeah, I didn't have a podcast at that point, which is probably good. No, but we just kind of chit chat back and forth a little bit. The funniest part about this, so her and I, like, you know, whenever you don't know somebody, like you kind of like bounce stuff off them a little bit, and like conversation. It's like a old coal, like a coal train, right? Like it just takes a little bit for it to start going.
Yeah.
And then the wheels start going. It's like, oh, this is comfortable. Okay, we're talking. About the point where we started chugging along a little bit, my roommate decides to slide down because everybody started ignoring him at the far end of the table. And so he was kind of interjecting himself a little bit and like chit-chatting with her and being kind of overly aggressive with talking to her.
You guys want to see me chug this beer? You want to see it, don't you?
Not quite that bad, but definitely kind of like alpha a little bit.
Yeah, I'm going to crush this beer can on my face.
And
I'm going to crush on Shawn's face.
Ow! 10, 15 minutes after that, she's like, "Oh, okay, well, I'm going to go home." And she gets up and leaves. And at that point,
he cock blocked you. That's kind of what happened. Yeah.
Which, I mean, at that point, I didn't quite know or 100% know that was the same girl he was talking to. Like, I thought it was, but I wasn't sure. Because, like, again, it was like I saw her for like 20 minutes and then I see her here.
Sure.
And so she leaves. We hang out a little bit. I pissed him off that night, too. I remember this very clearly. He was an engineer. And I guess, like, whenever you get, like, an engineering degree, they give you a ring. And one of the girls at the table was like, "What's your ring mean?" I said something about, like, it's what'd I say? It's a promise ring or like a virgin ring or something like that. Which when we got in the car, was heading back to our house, he was like super pissed about.
Aww.
But as we were heading back home, he's like, "Oh yeah, I did." And at that point on the way home, he was talking about the girl we're talking to, Tiffany's like, "Yeah, I'm totally not into her. Like, are you?" I'm like, maybe.
Yeah.
He's like, "Yeah, I'm not interested at all."
You were like, "Oh, so, maybe, like, I don't know." And inside you're like, "Yes!
Kinda, because we did have like a good like kind of conversation back and forth. I was like, well, there's potential here.
Right. So you're trying to play it cool.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Come to find out, not years later, maybe like 6 to 8 months after we kind of started dating and stuff, as she was leaving, she texted her friend at the table who knew me a little bit better from work. She texted her like, "Oh, super, super secret mission. Find out about this Shawn guy."
Oh. She's trying to get the heads up on your situation.
Yeah.
And then your friend's like, "This man has no situation. I think his situation is you better swoop in before he kills himself."
We've got really good life insurance policies on him. She's still holding out for that. She brings that up like every 6 months.
Just sign the papers. Who cares? You're dead.
I know, right? Well, she did just have me sign some papers.
Oh, there it is.
I need to hurry up and edit this and get it out as proof.
Yeah, you do.
But like it was like January-ish, and so like, you know, around the area we live, like January, February, there's always some really shitty snowstorms, right? So about 2 weeks before that, I get this, before we had a really bad snowstorm, I get this Facebook message and our Facebook friend or whatever. And this is what we talked about kind of last episode with like you and your wife.
Yeah.
You didn't really like, I didn't have
Not
that when I
really.
was
We
younger,
didn't.
so-
There was we did not have the Facebook. I did not slip into anyone's DMs or,
and that's,
I wasn't able to see anybody's relationship status on anything or see pictures of them with other people and then talk myself out of things. Because that's what I feel like I would do now. I feel like if I was dating now, that I would see pictures of like, I'd be like, oh, this girl looks cute, and then I'd look at her like Facebook profile, for example, and see all these pictures of like her with like one other guy that was maybe an ex-boyfriend, may not be, I don't know, but like I see a bunch of pictures of her with another guy, and I'm like, oh, that's probably her boyfriend. Well, that's out.
You know what? That's a good point, because when she friend requested me, that's what everybody does. Like, you start going through their pictures. And I saw some where she looked like she was pregnant, and she had cigarettes, and she had an ankle monitor. And when I saw that, I was like, she didn't say anything about having a kid or anything, and I don't remember her smoking. Come to find out, that was like a white trash bash party type thing. So it was like a costume party.
Oh, okay.
But like, you see those things, you're like, what's going on here?
Yeah, that's an excellent point. Is that you see you look at all these pictures and there's no context on anything, and so all you're doing is you're just kind of like you're forced to draw your own conclusions. Honestly, it sounds like my life was a little easier because then. And it was a little more easier, a little more cut and dry, because then I could just go up and be like, hey, do you want to hang out sometime? No. Okay.
Yeah. I don't have to look at like pictures of ex-boyfriends and be like, oh, that's why she said
I'm going to go in the back and open a vein and enjoy yourself.
I mean, we were both like 23 at that point. So like Facebook had been around for a bit, but like, could you imagine like trying to date in your 40s now? Like, you would have like 20 years of history on Facebook where you're like, nope.
I've told Amanda this. I said, you know what? Like, if you die or divorce me, like, that's it. Like, I'm not doing this again. I'm not going through this ever. There's no way I would want to date today.
Remind me of that caveat when I discuss about getting married. That whole doing it again thing. That's a very key thing for my headspace.
Okay.
So we Facebook friends each other, and then I'm like looking through pictures, and then I think I sent her a message first, or she sent me a message. I'm like, hey, what's going on? And kind of start doing the DM back and forth.
Mm-hmm.
And at this point, this is a great story. I think we've told this before, but at this point, my roommate had his buddy over, and they were down in my basement just drinking beers. Like, this is like 11 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah,
and
I have heard this story before. I don't know if you've ever told it on the podcast, but this is at least the third time I've heard it.
Yeah, oh, it's my favorite story ever to tell. but they've been drinking since 11. He bought like a bottle of Don Julio, and they were going to drink that night. And I wasn't drinking with him, so I'm like, I don't really want to drink with just two dudes. Like, I don't want to do that. And I wasn't in the headspace too to be like, I want to get fucking drunk and beat up each other. So her and I are messaging each other back and forth, and she's like, it's like, what do you got going on? And I'm like, oh, nothing. She's like, yeah, I made plans. I always hate making plans when I don't really want to do anything. And I was like, well, I'm kind of home bored. I wish I had something to do. And she invited me to a party. It was a Jersey Shore themed party. And she gave me her number to start texting.
Oh, so now you're on the phone. You're not just on the Facebook account. You're on the phone.
Yeah. And so we start messaging each other back and forth. And I again, this is just me. I kind of made it out to be like, hey, I don't want to intrude. Like, if you don't want me to come along, like, don't feel like you have to bring me.
Sure.
And she's like, no, of course, I want you to come along. That's why
I'm giving you adequate chance to end this.
It's like, if you don't want me to go, just tell me. And so my roommate,
I'm warning you, I'm very needy and quite clingy. So I'm just putting it out on Front Street.
I love you. That's what I'm saying. I love you. And at this point, my roommate and them come up and like, hey, I'm going to go out to this Jersey Shore party. And my roommate's buddy was super drunk at this point. He's like, yeah, Jersey Shore party, let's go.
Oh my God.
And my roommate at this point knew who I was going out with, who he already said he didn't want anything to do with anymore.
Sure.
Like gives me like this like stern, like pissed off look. He's like, I don't think we're invited. And I was like, well, technically no, it's just me.
Yeah. I'm like, well, got me there because you weren't.
But as I'm leaving, they were just finishing up baking these nachos. Like they were great looking nachos, chips, cheese, like all kinds of great stuff. Like looked really good. The drunk holy grail of nachos. Oh yeah. And this is like I said, like this is like 3 PM at this point. So like, just keep those nachos in mind. So I go to this Jersey Shore party with Tiffany, and we dance. We have a good time. We chit chat back and forth, and we end up leaving the party at like 2 AM. We stop and pick up Taco Bell. Yeah, it was pretty late. And like the whole time, like as we're like I told you, I don't.
How did the party go? Like you guys you danced and like discussed more of music, or did you move on to other things? Like did you discuss about like like your life at this point, or like hey or your job, or like where did the conversation go? I guess
not too far, really. I mean, because it was a house party, so we'd be in the basement. The music was like kind of like a dance club.
Okay.
And they had a room kind of blacklit. And we'd go in there and always make fun of Tiffany because the way she would dance, like, mind you, we had like met once and we're out at this date, and all of her friends were like, "Oh, dance with him, dance with him." And I always make fun of her because she'd kind of do like this hip thing on me and like look back to make sure like I was okay with it. Like she was worried she was gonna like sexually harass me.
I see.
But we had chit chats back and forth, but nothing crazy. It was kind of like I said, it was a house party, so I was talking to her friends a lot more.
And then there was this big white stain on your jeans in the blacklight room after she'd do that. And then you're like, let's go in the not blacklight room.
I'm like, my roommate was making nachos. I think they spilled sour cream on my lap. But we end up going back to my house, getting Taco Bell. I didn't get anything because another thing that I don't like to do is eat after I drink. Like I don't get like the drunk munchies.
I do this. I do so hard.
I got a Mountain Dew and that was it. Cause she's like, you don't want anything? I'm like, no, I hate eating after I drink.
Yeah. And like, I look down on people that eat after they drink too. And then she's like, yeah, that's unfortunate.
She's like, well, I guess the only thing I'm putting in my mouth tonight's this burrito. Like, wait a second. I don't kiss on the first date, but. And so, Richard,
here's how we circumvent that rule. No kissing. I'm a gentleman.
So as we're going back to my house, it's like 2 AM. Like the whole time I'm expecting her just like to drop me off and go home or whatever. And she's like, no, I'll come up. I'm like, okay. I don't know where this is going, but all right. And as we get to my door,
you don't know where this is going.
It actually didn't go anywhere.
Well, okay. No, I understand that. So I'm curious. Have you asked her about this exact situation? Have you gotten her side of the story?
I haven't gone into details about it too recent, but I did ask her. I'm like, so, and this was like a year or two after we got married. I was like, so when you came over that first time, were you planning on doing anything? She's like, no. I was like,
okay. That was where I was. That's where I was going. That's why I was wondering.
Yeah. I mean, I asked like, well, what if I tried to kiss you or something like that? And she's like, well, I mean, I probably would have kissed you. I think we hugged as she left, like, but nothing. But she was like, I had no intentions of, having sex with you that night.
And then I would have slapped her and said, no, I'm a gentleman.
But as we get up to my door, I lived in a split level, and I look through a little window in my door, and on the steps, Richard, like I'd mentioned from previously, looked like a perfect replication of those nachos I saw before.
Yeah.
But Richard, these nachos were not just spilled off a tray. They were probably regurgitated on a step. Like my entryway had a hardwood floor, and then it was carpeted steps. They hit the carpeted step right before the wood entryway. Like a foot forward would have been so much better.
Yeah. That would have been the difference between a mop and a scrub brush.
Yeah. So before I open the door, I tell Tiffany, I'm like, hey, sorry, I think somebody puked on the steps. And she says, oh, don't worry, I have pets.
And you're like, well, me too, but ish.
I basically told us like, well, I think it was my roommate who's kind of like a pet, I guess. So we go in, we eat, we leave. Like the house kind of stinks pretty bad.
Yeah. Plus you're sitting there eating nachos or eating a burrito.
Yeah, I mean it's very much in that same space.
That's what I'm saying. Like that, that wouldn't sit well with me at all.
She was a trooper out of all that. Like I feel like if it was me, I'd be like, oh, I'm gonna take my Taco Bell to go. I wouldn't have blamed her one bit. But the
roommate shows up, be like, Taco Bell. I have an empty stomach now.
Oh, why is this? This is kind of acidy. I don't know what that is. Too much tomatoes, probably. Side note to that. So she eats her Taco Bell. I drink my soda. She leaves, and we just hug. And I say, hey, hope to talk to you again. And I go back into the house, and I'm pissed. And I'm gonna get a carpet cleaner because again, like I feel like this is my fault because that's just who I am. Like I'm like I deserve this.
You feel like this is your fault. You feel like the
vomit on the steps,
the puking on the steps is your fault.
Yeah, I don't know why. I mean, again, that's like as I grow up, it's like that totally wasn't my fault.
No, it wasn't.
But you know me, like I had a cat at this point that I love dearly, still have her.
Sure.
And I'm sitting there on my computer, and all of a sudden I feel this breeze. Like I said, it's January on my leg. And I look out, and my sliding glass window that goes out to my deck is wide open.
Yeah.
And so at this point, this is where I get pissed off. So I close it. I try to find my cat. I find her. She's in the house fine, which she could have easily escaped.
Right.
And so I go downstairs where my roommate's sleeping on his couch and his buddy's sleeping on a futon. And I flip on the light and I start cussing. I'm like, blah, 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 you fuckers, blah, blah, blah. I brought a girl over, blah, blah, blah. There's fucking
apparently before you between sliding the glass door shut and heading downstairs, you grabbed your balls. You grabbed your cojones. Yeah, I did.
And so my roommate stands up. And he had a clenched fist. Like I thought he was going to punch me.
Yeah.
And I'm like going on and on and on. And I'm like, and then somebody fucking puked on the step. And right when I said that, his buddy on the futon lifts his head up with puke dribbled down his face, and he says, "Somebody puked on the step." And at that point, I'm just like, "You're adorable." Like, lay back down.
Completely disarmed.
Throw this stuff away. But about like a week later, a big snowstorm came through. So Tiffany and I were just kind of chit chatting on text. She texted me the next day. She asked if I knew who messed up my step. And
You're like, it was the cat.
Yeah, you're right. It was a pet. And like with the snowstorm and stuff, I was able to get out to her house like once or twice. Because I had a car at this point that didn't travel in the snow very well. And it was like our second official date. We watched Out Cold at her house.
Have I seen that?
It's the snowboarding movie with Zach Galifianakis.
I don't think I've seen it.
It's like from the late 90s. It's really good. Because she had never seen it. I was like, well, we got to totally watch this. So we had hot chocolate, s'mores, and watched Out Cold.
Oh, okay.
And I actually had to park at a hardware store like a block from her house and walk to her house.
Okay.
So of the like the moments between her and I that I find like the most romantic. So as we are finishing the movie, we hadn't kissed or anything like that. We're just hanging out. And I was like, okay, well, I guess I'll go ahead and leave. And she's like, okay. And she started like getting stuff. I was like, oh, no, like don't worry about walking me to my car. I'll be fine. She's like, no, I'll go. And so we walk up through the snow to my car, and I'm driving her back to where she could back to her house. And we're sitting there. And I've always like, again, she's probably like, kiss me, you idiot, maybe. But like to me, I'm always worried about those things. Like I don't want to presume.
No, I get that.
I
do that too. Like I need an overt signal. Otherwise I fail at almost every juncture.
I think we might have mentioned this a few weeks back, but I mean there was a time where this girl's like, "Oh, I got to ask you something after school." It's like in high school. And like I thought she was going to ask me to the Sadie Hawkins dance. And I was already ready to be like, "Yes, yes, yes." And because I really liked her. And when she walks up to me, she's like, "Hey, I just wanted to ask if you want to take so-and-so to the Sadie Hawkins dance." And like my mind had like...
yes. I mean, wait, who?
Yeah, exactly.
Not you?
And so I've always...
Oh, what did I agree to?
So I've always had that in my mind whenever I've been in like relationships. And so we're sitting there in my car and I'm like, I'm just gonna go for it. I'm like, hey, I'm never really good at these things, and I leaned in and gave her a kiss. It was a good kiss, like quick kiss,
Yeah.
Tasteful, little bit of tongue. And I kind of back away and she smiles and she says, well, I'll talk to you later. And, she gets out of the car.
Wait.
And yeah, that's the thing. It's like,
that's the yeah. I would totally as soon as she shut the door, I would drive like a block away and then I would stop the car and then I would get out and just lay underneath the front tire.
I probably had slight that, but Richard, what just made my heart jump. So she had to walk in front of my car where she was. And when she did, right when she got to the driver's side, I saw this little smile on her face.
Oh.
And I'm pretty sure I sat there because it was kind of in an alleyway, to get to her house. And again, there's so much snow, there's no traffic. And I sat there for a little bit watching her walk away. I'm like, there might be something here.
Yeah.
And so I went
home and he put the toaster in the cabinet, folks.
I did.
He's like, you know what? Not today.
I unplugged the extension cord and unplugged it from the toaster, and I put the extension cord in the garage. I had to walk over another step of puke in my house. I don't know what he ate that time, but on my way home, she texted me and she's like, hey, I kind of wish you would have stayed. And I was like, well, I can come back, but yeah. But we kind of
no, it's okay. There's more snow on the ground. No, it's fine. It's fine. I just
I was just in the neighborhood. But we kind of the snow, it was a week or two because the snow was pretty bad. It goes away. We kind of hang out a few times. We went to see it was a movie called there's one with Ashton Kutcher. I think it's Just Friends. And it was the first movie we saw. Was it Just Friends? Something like that. And
God, why don't you go see a movie called Friend Zone McFriendzone Face?
Pretty much. That's exactly what it was. It opens. It's funny because we hadn't seen really too many movies together, and she didn't hold my hand going in, but she held my hand at the theater. And as we're sitting there, I'm trying to remember what theater this was in too. I don't remember, but the opening is the kid.
Oh my God, is this gonna get racy?
No, not too bad. But the kid's crying at the opening of the theater, and this girl's trying to console him because they're at a camp, and he's talking about his parents are getting divorced, and there's a silence in it for a second, and then the kid's like, "Hey, can I finger you?" And I'm just kind of thinking "Oh God, what is she thinking right now?" But she held my hand at the theater, but didn't hold it as we left.
Probably to make sure you didn't proposition anything. Be like, nope.
But for the first couple of months, it was kind of and again, at some point we started hanging out a little bit more intimately, staying at each other's houses or staying late at each other's houses. And I've always been in all my relationships, whenever I hey, are we a couple? Are we boyfriend, girlfriend? Anytime I've had that conversation, it's well, yeah, I think we are. We are. Yeah, we're dating.
Yeah.
And Richard,
but now you're adults.
I know, and I'm actually kind of digging on her quite a bit,
right? So I feel there's more. Number one, there's more on the line when you ask this bit, now, yeah. And number two, the answer is less clear.
Oh, for sure. And I get a very unclear answer the first time I ask. I'm like, hey, so are we a couple? She's like, well, I mean, we're hanging out, but we're not anything official.
Yeah.
Which was a dagger through the heart.
Ouch. Yeah.
Because that was before we
do you think we're a couple? And then she's like, what?
Yeah.
And you're no, I pretend. If somebody asks me a question and I pretend that I'm suddenly deaf, then.
Yeah. So, Richard, when I got back home, I grabbed the extension cord. But it was because
I'll give it one more day.
Because this was before we had slept together or anything. So I was kind of oh, fuck,
jeez,
are we just friends?
Really?
Yeah. I was it was just because we'd been hanging out for a month or two at this point. And I was kind of well, shit. We had talked about going to Oklahoma together at some point, just for a trip. And I was like, yeah, let's do that.
You're planning trips and wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
And, I talked well, it's she's well, I don't really want you to spend that money. Let's just go to Kansas City. I was like, okay, we can do that. And there was a couple nights after I'd asked that question, she still invited me over, but she always made sure I went home before it got too late. And a bunch of times we'd be sleeping on the couch. And I'd be like, well, let's just fall asleep. Like, I'm not any sexy stuff. Like, let's just lay here and fall asleep together.
Oh, ever the gentleman.
Because I legitimately, like, I've talked about, like, or I've told girlfriends in the past that I love them. And I'm sure in some aspects I probably did, but I felt a super strong love for this girl. Like, something I've never felt in my life.
Wow.
And I know people say that, but it was legit. Like, I would have, like, if you're ever with somebody and they tell you, because it didn't happen just once that she said, no, we're not like a couple. It happened like 2 or 3 times.
All right.
And you'd think after the second time, you'd be like, okay, like, if this isn't what you want, I'm gonna move on.
Yeah. Yeah.
But in my mind, I was like, well, I'll hang around until you basically don't want me to. Like, until you're like, no, I don't foresee us being anything more than just friends.
Yeah. Yeah.
And yeah. So I mean, it was a couple times of asking that question before she finally said, yeah, I guess we're a couple.
Jeez, that's a long time to wait.
Yeah. We took a trip to Kansas City for a baseball game at one point, and that was the first time we knocked boots. It was before we were a couple too, which I've done that before.
Like in the ballpark? Oh my God, were you in the ballpark?
Yeah.
I knew it.
I was like, hey, babe. I didn't say babe. I was like, hey,
you want to join the Royal Mile High Club?
She's like, no.
Are you drunk? Yes.
Did I ever tell you that I love you?
But that's just so I could double my record time. 4 minutes, here we come.
Somebody spilled sour cream on my pants again.
Get that black light away. Whoa.
But we did that thing there. And even at that point, I think, like, I asked her again, because I'm not the kind of person that likes to do that stuff if there's not, like, some emotion tied to it. It's not just a thing for me. And so I told her that. I'm like, hey, oh yeah, I've never really liked that at all. It's always been an emotional thing for me.
Okay.
And so I told her that, like, afterwards, I'm like, listen, like, I was very much the girl in this.
Yes,
like,
yes,
whenever you think of, like, rom-coms. And I was like, hey, like, this isn't just something I do, right? Like there's emotion tied to this. And I think we started, like, staying at each other's houses a bit more at this point. And
okay.
As we're sitting there, this was before she said that she wanted to be my girlfriend. And I remember sitting there, I'm like, I think you're somebody I could fall in love with.
Oh, no.
And deep down, I'm like, no, I do love you. Like, I feel like emotions for you.
So this is what you were saying inside.
No, I said it out loud.
Oh.
As we're laying in bed.
Oh. And
she didn't reciprocate it at that point. Which, again, was kind of, but I think it was kind of like she lays, like, I think I like you in that sense, and I think this is leading somewhere, but I'm just not ready for it right now.
Right.
And I was like, that's fine. Like, I will be here as long as you want. If for whatever reason you feel like this isn't what you want, just let me know, and we could just be friends, or I can leave or whatever. Like, but this is how I feel.
Yeah.
Because I wanted to lay it out there.
I mean, if you don't feel that way, that's fine. I'll go. You want me to go now? I'll go now. I got it. I'm going to go.
Wait, I just texted my roommate. The toaster's plugged in. So, I mean, it would literally, like, take no time at all for me to, be out.
Go home and fucking kill myself.
But after a couple of months after that, going to the game and everything, we end up becoming a couple. And like from that point on, like we basically stayed. It was kind of cute because we'd be like, because this is the adult thing too. It's like because we both had our own place. It was essentially like, well, I don't want, we shouldn't be staying at each other's place all the time. But we'd hang out, and then I'd go home, and she'd text me like, hey, will you just, if you want, you can come back and just stay the night. And so essentially from that point on, we lived together.
Right. So you're saying once she reciprocated how you felt, then things kind of went from like it was like steps 1 through 3 were slow, but then once you got past step 3, then 4, 5, and 6 kind of came and went.
I mean, if it's a scale of 10, it's like 1, 2, and 3 took a while. 3, 4, and 5 took a really long time, but like 6 and above, like it just once it kind of was like, yeah, we're together. It was just kind of like full force.
Yeah.
But yeah, and I knew instantly that this was the girl I wanted to marry. Which again, like I said earlier, like you talked about, like you were mentioning, like if for some reason you split up, you're like I can't do this again. I had been through that before. Like I remember thinking very specifically, like, listen, if I get divorced, and this was in my first relationship, I'm never doing this again. Like there's no way I'd want to do this again.
You told me that.
Yeah, and the reason I thought
you were like, I'm not doing. It's not worth
because
it.
It's like if I don't want a chance being miserable for the rest of my life. Like I had that thought. It's like I'm prepared to be miserable for the rest of my life. Like I'm 22, 60 years of my life, I'm gonna think about taking a toaster bath. And I won't do it, but that's what I'm going to think about. And so I had that in my mind is like, well, there's no way I'm going to push myself to that anymore. And Tiffany and I got together and I fell in love again, which I think is something that I wasn't really even looking for at that point.
No, you weren't. What were you looking for, though?
Well, I mean, at that point, I was just looking to have fun, like to go out, party, nothing, no strings attached kind of thing. Like I wasn't really looking to be like just banging chicks left and right, but just go out, party, hang out, joke around, have a good time, but not getting in a serious relationship. Like, I was just wanting to be by myself kind of thing.
Okay.
But then like it's funny too, because like I said, like a week before I met her, like I had that thoughts like, fuck this is what I'm going to do. This is what my life will be. If something happens, whatever, but I'm not planning on it.
Right.
And like 2 weeks later, I run into her and it just kind of threw those plans out the window.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I was saying, I was like, I didn't want to take that chance again because I didn't want to be miserable. And I find Tiffany.
I find it interesting because like when you're describing it, like it's like she's the one that's more resistance, the wrong word. She's the one that's more hesitant.
Yeah.
Than you, when I feel like you have way more reason to be hesitant, but you were just like, well, the decision, like in my head, like there isn't a need for me to hesitate.
Yeah. And I mean, like somebody could chalk that up like, well, you didn't have any opportunities for anybody else, but I'd hung out with like 3 or 4 different girls before that where if I was just desperate for some emotional connection, like there was 4 opportunities for me to kind of do that.
Sure.
But I knew and felt that wasn't right. But with Tiffany, it was just kind of like, I don't want to be too cliche about it, but it was kind of like, oh my God, like this is the person I should be with.
Yeah.
And, I've thought this numerous times since we've been married. A lot of people talk about like, oh my gosh, if I get divorced, like I couldn't do it again. My thoughts when I said that is because I didn't want to be miserable. But now with Tiffany, like I say that now, like if something happens with Tiffany or whatever, like I would not get married again. Yeah. And the reason for that is because I know I could probably find somebody that I relate to, but for me to find somebody that makes me as happy as her is like a 1 in a million. Like
I get that. That totally makes sense.
I mean, and it wouldn't be fair to whoever I would be with at that point too, because I definitely would be comparing it to our relationship that I have with Tiffany. So, yeah, if something ever happened, I told her like, I'm not gonna. If you write me a PS I love you and says bang my friend in Scotland, it's not gonna happen. Well, that might happen, I guess. That's not a connection. But we.
Oh, so you're saying so you could relate to the character? Well, then
I have needs.
Maybe you'll leave the fucking movie alone a little. But anyway,
like 6 months later, I proposed. We were married about a year and a half later in 2013. We had a kid a few years back.
Yeah,
moved in together. Done a lot of traveling together. She's super supportive of everything I do. I don't think she listens to our show too much, but she definitely is. You could definitely see in like a person being like, you're going to talk to him every Sunday. But she's definitely supportive of those kinds of things. And it's cool seeing her with our kid. We just had all day together today and was a really great time. And I don't know if there's a lot to kind of tidy up after that point, but I feel very lucky, if that makes sense.
No, it does. I get it.
I mean, you kind of saw my whole roller coaster of relationships, and I could have been a very bitter, hateful man at the age of 23.
Yeah, but that's very true.
But stumbling into each other.
But you did. You're not bitter and hateful.
No, I'm super happy. I couldn't be happier, especially in my personal life with, Tiffany and our son. And yeah, I mean, to say it an ode for Valentine's Day, it's probably something that I always worry that you get into a rut of life, and it's something that, you go to work, you come home, and you're kind of like, you don't say the things you need to say.
Oh, yeah, definitely. And you know what? That the gaps become larger. So it actually requires more work as it goes on.
Yeah, I definitely see that. But
Shawn, okay. So let's wrap this up. Let's wrap this up with Shawn's closing thought.
So my closing thought, I guess would be
on life and love, and don't let your friends drink, puke nachos on your steps.
Yeah. If you have a roommate who is going to drink some Don Julio and eat nachos, put down plastic bags.
Yeah.
And probably go to her house, not yours.
Yeah. Ooh, good call.
Definitely listen to your gut. In both my situations, one I did listen to my gut and it turned out great. One I didn't, and it didn't turn out too great. But in the end, I think no matter what you go through, it's all gonna lead to what it needs to. The things in my life that happen, if they didn't happen, I may not have met Tiffany. So in some ways, I'm grateful that they happened the way they did. It helped me learn and grow. But the thing that I'm most grateful for, besides meeting my best friend Richard, is meeting my bestest friend, my second favorite person in the whole wide world, next to my kid, my wife Tiffany, who puts up with a lot. But no matter what we go through, we still love each other at the end of the day, and I really like that.
Aww. Cue the violins.
Yeah. So do you want to throw any Richard's closing thoughts to tidy that up?
No, that you tied it up just fine all by yourself.
Well, happy Valentine's Day to both our wives, and especially to my wife. And if she listens to this in the next 20-some years, babe, I love you. And if she's listening to this in front of our divorce lawyer, here's proof that I love her.
Yeah. It all wasn't a sham.
All right, let me do a little bit of housekeeping. Visit our website. We're at languageofbromance.com. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram at languageofbro. Email us at eatthebeaver at languageofbromance.com. Like us on Facebook and go out recruit somebody for our podcast and send them to Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and Spotify.
And when you're doing that, leave a rating and review because they're super, super helpful. Let's iTunes and Spotify know that we're awesome, and they help do their best to try and keep us awesome.
And we're a part of the great romantic couple finding podcast site on the internet, the Pod Bros Network.
The podcast site that would never puke on your steps.
Ah, yes. All right, Richard, was there anything else before I close her out?
No. You tied it up with a perfect little bow.
Oh, well, that's all the Bromance we have for this show. I'm Shawn.
And I'm Richard.
And we say I love you, and babe, if you listen to this, well, who am I kidding? You don't have to ask me.
Yeah.
Eat the beaver.
Yeah. Love it.